I actually had, so this is a really interesting thing. This isn't really answering your question, but it kind of is. Every time I go to the Lake of the Ozarks, we have a place down there. Half of my book, half of the recall I have came from when I go stay at the lake. I don't know what it is there. I feel like there's something in this home. Like I hardly have any recall when I'm here. But if I go stay out of town, in other places like Arkansas, I mean, or like the Ozark region, yeah, and that's when I'll have these like profound memories come back. And I would say the 80% of the stuff I wrote about in that book comes when I go visit the Ozarks. And I went there recently right after our conference, and I had this whole recall come back. And it was like mind blowing. And it's like this whole I've only like told a few people about it, but it will absolutely have to go into the next book because it's like it's this whole mind blowing thing, this experience. And I mean, yeah, I can if you want, yeah. So it was
By the
again.
way, I think it's partly the water too, part of the lake, right? The power of the water.
Oh,
I
interesting.
feel like that's because water has such a relationship with consciousness. I feel like it's a reservoir of
Maybe
stored data
y-
somehow.
I've been wanting to move close to the water too for a long time. Maybe there's a subconscious reason for that as well. Um, yeah, that never occurred to me. So basically, again, I find myself in a situation. I'm in this facility. Have you ever seen the movie The Island? It's a cloning movie about our cloning facility underground. Anyway, it reminded me of a facility like that. I don't know if it was underground or off planet. I don't know. And I was in a line of people, but it was people, everybody I knew, like in this community, even people I wouldn't expect to see were there. And it was just like, and people I didn't know, but it was in a line, and we were all waiting in line to basically be assessed by this woman. She was like a taller looking ET woman. Like she was human, but she was very slender and tall. She wasn't human, but she looked human, you know. And she was sitting in this chair, and everybody was like taking turns. And then she had this like wand, this device, and she was like basically scanning people. And I didn't know what they were doing until she got to me. And she was scanning me, and she's like, she said, "You're wise beyond your years," she told me. And I was like, "I am." And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "You'll be put in tier 3." And I didn't know what that meant. And we were in some facility where it almost seemed like we were all clones or something. I don't know. And everybody was being separated into groups based on how they were being assessed by her, basically being graded. And she said, "You'll be put in tier 3." And then I'm basically escorted over to this area. And it's like this training, it's like this literal like obstacle course, like physical training center. And like you have to go through and like literally like dodge stuff and like run through this course. But it wasn't real. It was like a virtual reality simulation, but it looked real. Like it looked as real as this room, but it was all virtual, like the holodeck on Star Trek. And and then like as you would do better in the course, like a voice would come over the intercom and said, "You've earned extra time." And then like you have more time to complete the course. And then like based on how you completed the course, everybody was like graded on that or whatever. And then we would be all separated into groups. Like there was like this big room, and we were all separated into groups at these tables. And this is the weirdest thing. So in the middle of the table, it was like Earth. You could see like Earth, and it had literally like every single person. You could just like basically move it around and zoom in on anybody you want, and it had their entire stats, had their IQ, whether they had like gone through an awakening, whether they come online, like where their level of consciousness was at. So you could just see literally everyone, and like a few of like the highest IQ people, like they were highlighted, and then like you can see um, and you could like zoom in on them. And then it was basically Earth was in the program, it was nicknamed the waiting room. So what would happen was all the people at the facility would go incarnate on Earth and then basically go about their life on Earth and like achieve the like level up and go through their awakening or whatever. And as they were needed for missions, they were just abducted and put into a program to run a mission or whatever, and then put back. And they would memory wipe the person and put them back. And then like while I'm in that facility, I started getting really, really mad at the superiors for memory wiping these people. I started realizing how wrong it was. And but it didn't make sense to me. I'm still trying to figure out like what this thing was. Like, were we underground or were we actually on like outside of the planet. I don't know, but it was just frustrating to me because I didn't understand if I was like a clone. Like, were we all clones? Like, how were we up here and down there at the same time? Like, it didn't make sense. And one of the things that we were doing in these groups were, um, so I don't want to say any names yet because I'm just not going to say any names, but people that we know in this community like create like types of alien technologies and stuff that they download and channel and they'll create devices and stuff. And so we were at each table, we were basically testing this technology that we were developing on Earth and seeing if it actually worked or not. And like it would be like a little like something like that, like an organite pyramid or an essential oil. And so basically like something like that might have been downloaded to somebody. And we were basically testing stuff like that to see if it was actually what they were creating was actually had an effect. And we were literally sitting in these groups, and one of the tables I was at, like it was literal like this type of essential oil. We were seeing if it had any measurable effect. And they got to me and I spilled some on this tablecloth, and like before we changed stations, I had to change the tablecloth because uh I couldn't leave it messy. Like this is just like the type of memories, right? This all comes back. And there was even more to it, but it was just blowing me away. I was like, I woke up from that. And I'm like, what? And what was that? Like, what was that? You know, it was so real that I can't even like, I'm like, what is reality anymore? And like, is that just some crazy vivid dream? Or is this like, there were so many details that I couldn't just write it off. And like I remember the facility, it was like layered. It very much felt like we were underground somewhere, but also off planet. But I only feel like I think it was off planet because we were looking at that globe. And then oh, I do remember another room. Like there was this room where people would sit. Yeah. So we this is why I think we were off planet. Now it's coming back. There was literally a room with a window and you could like see out into space. And like I think we were looking at Earth. And I remember like we were like people would sit in there and one of the guys was Donald Marshall, who I talked about earlier. He just happened to be there, and I was surprised that he would even be there. But he was basically explaining the same thing he was explains and when he blows the whistle here about the cloning program. But he was like explaining to other people up where we were about the cloning program, how it works in great detail. He was like, "Yeah, we wait till they fall asleep into this deep state of sleep, and then they take their consciousness and whatever." So I'm like, it's almost like we were at the cloning facility where where this was all being carried out. And I don't know. I'm still trying to make sense of it, but I do know that chapter in my book is going to be called the waiting room because that's what we nicknamed Earth in the program, the waiting room, because you would just go there, live out your life, and basically it was the waiting room until they needed you for a program.
That seemed like it was you were in the material world.
Yeah, that's what it felt like afterward.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean,
And you have a different feeling of a dream, like remembering a dream.
Yeah, because dreams, I don't know. If you try to tell me about a dream, or if I try to tell you about a dream, dreams like fade away. And in dreams, like people morph and things changes, locations change. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll be talking to you, all of a sudden you'll be my sister and we'll be on a beach. You know what I mean? Like it just moves and stuff. And in these memories, it's not that at all. It's very matter of fact. Like it's a facility and it's all like it comes back like a memory. And when I sit with it, it more comes clear. Like when I was just talking to him, like, oh yeah, we were sitting in that room looking out that window. I remember that now. So and then really
kind of like a moon base or something. If you could see Earth that close.
yeah, and that's maybe what it was. Like I haven't even sat with it that much, but I know like if I were to sit down and write a chapter about it, more probably would come back as well.